Yo, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're just going to talk about SmackDown, the Go Home show to the Royal Rumble 2021. We're going to do a review of the whole show because everything was so connected for the most part, due to it being the Go Home show to the Royal Rumble. Also, I didn't really like this episode of SmackDown. I'm not really excited about a lot of the stuff that they did, even though I'm excited for the Royal Rumble match. I'm not excited at all for what they did on this show. You know, some of this stuff was... This was a lazy episode of SmackDown. It was very lazy. So we start at the top with Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is getting us hyped for the Royal Rumble, talking about the excitement of the ticker and, you know, the surprises and all that type of stuff. He's just getting us real excited. He's talking about, thanks to the Alpha Academy, he's ready to go. You know, his hips are loose and he's ready to win. Then AJ Styles comes out, and they almost immediately excuse why he's there. You know, the brand invitational. And he comes out and he says that he's been a bit of a gatekeeper on Raw. That, you know, since he declared for the Royal Rumble, everybody started trying to do the same thing. So he's been stomping out hopes and dreams. And that, you know, Daniel Bryan is looking, you know, he's looking like he's got one foot out the door. He's asked him if he was the general manager again. He said, "You look like you're not ready for the Rumble. He's like, you're ready to leave." And Daniel Bryan said, "Okay, look, I'm never half-assing anything, you know. I'm ready to go." So he says that he's ready to fight. He challenged Styles. Styles shoved him down. So Bryan is about to get up, about to get in AJ Styles' face, and then almost start standing there. And Bryan was like, "Okay, look, if you are a man, you come to the ring without him. But whether you come with them or not, I'm still going to kick your ass." So I love this opening segment. I love the tease. But it's once you know what happens, there is nothing fun about what they actually did. It just wasn't fun. And this was long. So they set all of this up here and end up blowing it at the end, but we'll get there. So the first match, actual match, was Bayley versus Bianca Belair, a rematch from like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Where Bayley, before the match, Bayley cut a promo, talked about she watched Bianca Belair's Chronicle, and that she was impressed, but Bianca runs from all of her problems, and she's the biggest problem Bianca Belair is going to ever have. And after she beat Bianca Belair, she's going to fall into another one of the darkest EST holes of her life. And I was like, okay, I like that. They use the Chronicle. They're still trying to get people to watch the Chronicle. So now they're talking about it. They haven't done a really good job always of talking about those shows on TV. Like, they show commercials for them, but they don't really factor them into the storyline. And now in this situation, they actually brought it up in the storyline, which I actually liked. That was nice. So then they worked the match, and Bianca Belair, her arm and knees are being worked on. Bayley, you know, worked a solid Bayley match. I like that when Bayley was mocking Bianca by pulling her hair and, you know, just swinging it around saying, "Ding dong, ding dong." That kind of, kind of pissed Bianca off, and she actually started coming back, being kind of fiery, you know, getting aggressive, really getting in there. I actually like how Bianca was selling. Her selling was really good here. So she's like, you know, trying to lift Bayley for the glam slam, and she's like, "Oh, my arms." So it was really well done, you know. So Bianca just wins with the KOD, which is what I wanted and think she should have won the first time. So Bianca Belair finally beat somebody of note in WWE, and it was Bayley. Of course, good decision. Then she had a post-match promo where she was breathing very heavily and, you know, says that this is the biggest win of her career, but she's not going to stop here. She wants to win the Royal Rumble. And, you know, that Bayley has tried to keep her down and make her feel bad about being herself. And she says, "I would never apologize for being myself. You know, I would never apologize for being confident." And, you know, I'm like, okay, that's a good babyface promo. You know, you know, Bayley says that she has nothing to be so excited for, nothing to be so confident about. And so Bianca Belair says, "I'm confident because I know who I am, you know, and I know what I can do." So this kind of comes full circle. Now, technically, they're 1-1 in their feud, which is 50-50 booking. They kind of have to have a third match, and, you know, to decide who wins the feud. But I guess they would be all right with not having a third match. The only problem that I have here is that they just had this match not too long ago. And it was, I mean, well, maybe, was it on the Christmas episode of SmackDown? Because it might have been less than a month. It might have been within the month. It might have been about a month ago they had this match. But Bianca Belair winning is the right decision. That was absolutely the right thing to do. Because she needed the momentum going into the Royal Rumble. The second match was King Corbin versus Dominic Mysterio, which is literally a rematch from last week. They literally just wrestled. And the storyline was that if Dominic's way didn't work, they was going to try Ray's way of doing things. And they decided to just say, scrap that, and just do the match again. So there was no progress here. This was the same match they had before. Corbin essentially dominated Dominic. Dominic had a little bit more offense this time, with Dominic attacking during the entrance. And then, Dominic frustrating Corbin with his aggression. And, Ray was on commentary, this time really doing a good job of selling it, physically selling that, that's his son in there. Corey Graves was kind of needling Ray a little bit, talking about how, calling Dominic a heavy bag and this guy's a Golden Gloves boxer. This is what he does. How you just going to go in there and fight a Golden Gloves boxer? They really putting over the fact that Corbin is a Golden Gloves boxer. So I think that says a lot about what the big surprise that they're going to whip out on Corbin. But Corbin just wins the match with the End of Days. And then Ray comes into the ring because he's concerned. And, Corbin attacked him, and then he fights Corbin off. So this is essentially almost the exact same thing that they've done already. They just said hit the repeat button on this one. No, I didn't like this. I don't mind the whole Mysterios versus Corbin thing. I don't mind it. But it was clear that they didn't put any thought into this episode because there was no progress. There was no progress here. This was, again, the same storyline, same match, same outcome that they had the first time. That's last week. So you had Big E trying to bribe Sonya Deville to find out what his number is. He slipped her exactly $1. What she said this is $1. And then he said he had a gift card for her. Some kind of gift card or whatever. And then Miz and John Morrison showed up because brand to brand invitational. And they threatened to cash in the Money in the Bank on Roman. And then John Morrison made a joke about GameStop, which he would, of course, make a joke about GameStop. For those of you who don't know, there's short sellers out there getting screwed, rightfully or wrongly, depending on your way of looking at these things. I say rightly. Over the GameStop stock is confusing for people who don't understand the stock market. They just try to boil things down to big guys versus little guys, but it's not that simple. Anyway, Big E said that John Morrison and The Miz were over the hill and they had no chance of winning the Royal Rumble, which, wow, that was pretty stiff. That was a stiff line. And they got into a fight. And the fight pretty much just lasted until they went to commercial. Then it was announced that Natalya versus Tamina for number 30 will take place on WWE Backstage. Number 30 in the Women's Royal Rumble. And I was like, why? Why not do that on SmackDown? Why are we waiting until Backstage? And I'm guessing it's because Backstage doesn't draw on its own. So they gotta throw tidbits out there. It should be a simple thing, though. The loser has to start it, and the winner has to end it, And that would have been fine. But at the same time, we have been telling this story that Natalya and Tamina are partners. So now they're fighting. Again with the partners fighting. We just went through this last week where Tamina and Natalya were watching Charlotte and Asuka wrestle the Riot Squad and saying to themselves, hey, we could be next in line for the women's tag team titles. And now they have to fight each other. it's rarely one thing that becomes a problem. It almost always compounds itself. When you get lazy, shit starts to compound. You know, like SmackDown is a great show normally, but this show, because they decided to take a day off, they just started making their problems actually worse. And it started getting worse and worse as the time went on. Even though there was still some nuggets of good stuff in here, don't get me wrong, but they just decided to get lazy. You know, and they decided to just say, fuck it, nothing matters. So I'm guessing Tamina's going to win the match and come in at number 30 because Tamina is limited physically. So why not? So Reginald comes out and he offers Sasha a peace offering, a bottle of wine that he says it was picked perfectly because it goes well with her losing her title, which is supposed to be, you know, wine pairings. This is the best wine for losing your title. Sasha then acts very bad. Like, her acting is not good. Like, I don't know how she was in The Mandalorian. She could have been whoever's a good female actress. I can't think of one off the top of my head. But she could be that lady. Meryl Streep or whatever. Uma Thurman. If she's a good actress. Anyway, she could be the fucking best female actress in the world in that movie. On that TV show. But she was not good here. But she's, you know, basically says that she gave the bottle back and said that she's gonna break Carmella's jaw, and this wine looks like it's gonna go well with her broken jaw or something like that. Reggie speaks with a French accent. He speaks French. I was like, okay, you know, I think I did see him speaking French on Twitter, which was because a lot of people was retweeting him, and he ended up I don't want to say he was trending. I think he was just real popular at the time, and people giving him like high fives for his performance. But he wasn't bad here. His accent's a little thick, but I think they just tested him a little at a time. They gave him the match. He did well there, and now they're saying here's his promo. And his body language is very smug, which is good because he's supposed to be like a smug upper crust heel. So, because even being a small yay, it's just you're still a, you know, I don't know if that would be blue collar, because almost all of those guys are kind of upper crusty, you know, like you deal with rich people all day, so you kind of have to be a little bit of rich yourself. So that was fine. He was fine. Sasha was not really good. I know people are not gonna like me saying that, but Sasha wasn't really good there. So then we get Nakamura, and Nakamura has a run in with Sami Zayn, and I love this. This was really good. This was the best thing that they've done on this show since the Bryan and Styles stuff. So Sammy is coming around. He's just talking fast, right? He's like, he doesn't like all the Raw guys coming around. He's like, don't you suspicious of all these Raw guys coming around here all of a sudden? It's like, no, it's the Royal Rumble. Like, that's the reason they're coming around. But he's like, all of these Raw guys, and he's like, never mind. So he says that he's concerned. He shows some concern about Nakamura and Cesaro. He's like, are you guys going your separate ways? Like, he's doing his own thing and you're doing your own thing. And he didn't even let Nakamura explain what was going on before he jumped to another subject. And he says he needed a favor. He says that Big E stole his Intercontinental Championship. He wants Nakamura to help him get it back. He said, I did a lot for you. I was your liberator. I liberated you. You know, now I need you to pay it back. I need you to help me get my Intercontinental Championship back from Big E. And then, before Nakamura can say anything, Sami Zayn starts talking about that, you know, all the best things you've ever done was because of me. Your NXT debut was a smashing success because of me. You know, you won the Intercontinental title. That was great. Then it was because of me. You know, you became a champion all these times because of me. And so Nakamura finally says that, you know, he appreciates everything Sami Zayn did, but Sami Zayn can go to hell. And I loved it. It kept Nakamura. He didn't have to say that much. He didn't have to banter with Sami Zayn, who was a fast-talking, almost car salesman-like performer who was just like slick. Sami is really good. And I am so glad that he grew into this and that he gave himself time to grow into this, because everybody loved Sami Zayn in NXT, but he was so bland. He was so bland. And I kept saying, like, that bland Sami Zayn shit is not going to work on the main roster. And it didn't. But when he started kind of loosening up, talking, becoming more of himself, he started getting really annoying, fast talking, you know, then it got really good. It got really good really fast too. Like, it felt natural because that's who he is. And he's a great character. I love Sami Zayn now. And Nakamura is great too. He didn't have to say that much. He didn't have to do that much. So Nakamura was great. So we get the Kevin Owens Roman Reigns segment. And they're sitting there and they're talking from, you know, the final showdown or whatever, final face down or whatever the fuck they called it. And they're sitting there looking at screens. And Kevin Owens is talking about, hey, I've already beaten Roman Reigns twice. And, you know, I would be the Universal Champion right now if it wasn't for his family. And then basically Jey Uso kept interfering and, you know, Roman can't beat him on his own. You know, there's nothing, but in this last man standing match, there's nothing Roman can do. There's nothing anybody in his family can do to stop him from winning this match. And that, so Paul Heyman says, you know, I'm not going to let you talk to Roman like this. You need to be talked to Roman with reverence and respect for your head of your table, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. You should have more respect. So then Roman says, you know, he's trying to understand Kevin Owens. You know, so he asked him about his father. And Kevin Owens was like, you know, his father was a good man and, you know, Roman should probably back off when it comes to this. You know, he's going too far. And Roman says, look, I'm just trying to figure out why you think you can beat me. Why you think you can be the champion. You know, and it's got to be because your father didn't teach you your limitations. And you could see, you know, Kevin Owens was kind of getting a little perturbed. And again, he says, like, you shouldn't be here. You're ill-equipped to be the Universal Champion. You're not fit for the role of the Universal Champion. He says you're not a knight. You're not a rook. You're not even a queen. You're a pawn. And he says that, you know, when you fail, you should blame your father. Because your father should have taught you better than this. And then he says that, you know, if your father was a fool, it means your grandfather was a fool. And Kevin Owens reiterated, you know, his grandparents, his granddad is tattooed on his knuckles. His grandparents are not a fool. And that Roman was going too far. And that Roman needs to back off. So Roman just says, you know, one day you'll see your grandparents again. And they'll look at you and say what a disgrace you were. And that you should have just acknowledged him as your tribal chief. I mean, we did. I was dead, bro. When he said that Kevin Owens' dead grandparents acknowledged him as his tribal chief. Oh, that was great shit. Oh, that was great shit. Now, that kind of justified why you can't do that face to face. I'll talk about that in a minute. So he says basically that, you know, once the grandfathers recognize him as the tribal chief, you know, and Kevin Owens, of course, blew his lid and says that Roman's an insecure bully surrounded by yes men and that, you know, he knows who he is. Kevin Owens knows who Kevin Owens is. He sees him in the mirror. And that's somebody that his family is proud of. And while he was ranting, Roman just turned his TV off. Like, he didn't want to hear that shit. And that obviously, of course, blew Kevin Owens. He was so mad. He was really mad. But they justified not doing it face to face. Not just because if they're face to face, they'll fight again. But so Roman can say this obviously really mean dig. And for Kevin Owens to not have any sort of reaction other than being very angry in this room by himself. You know, like, there's nothing he could do. If he had made that comment in person, they would have had to fight, right? It would have compelled Kevin Owens to fight. And I think the whole idea of saying your grandfather was a fool, if your daddy is a fool, would have compelled Kevin Owens to fight. I mean, because you can cut the balls off of your baby faces. you can say babyface, you know, if somebody dish your parents or your kids or something like that, you kind of got to go to the hands very quickly, you know. So they did a good job of, they're in two separate places, so that's why they're not fighting. And then Roman can take unfair digs from a distance like a coward because, you know, he ain't got to worry about Kevin Owens putting his hands on him. So that was fine. Of course, you could have always said, well, why didn't he just go find Roman and they fight? But we didn't have to think that far into it. So now we get the bullshit. Because the rest of the show just went to raw levels of bad. The match is Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. They're having a match, and it's a very good match. So then Sami Zayn comes out to protest the match, which was great. Like, he's walking around outside the ring, protesting the match. Justice for Sami. Going on and on about everything that he cares about. Cesaro is on commentary. Cesaro's talking, and he's talking about Daniel Bryan because he's been feuding with Daniel Bryan. And then here comes Big E. And Big E comes down. His music plays and everything. Which, again, why are you playing music for guys who are not supposed to be out there? That is such a big pet peeve of mine now. I fucking hate that. How much cooler would it have been if out of nowhere you started hearing Sami Zayn yelling and protesting and walking around with the sign, but they introduced him with his fucking music? Why? And of course, Daniel Bryan was distracted because random music started playing. It's like, what the fuck? What is up with the fucking music? You know, I don't get that. I don't get why we have to play music. It is so stupid. So then Big E comes out there. He's not interested in the match. He's out there because Sami Zayn is carrying a sign saying that he's not the real Intercontinental Champion. And he's yelling at anybody who's listening that Big E stole the Intercontinental title from him. So he goes out there to fight Big E. So he goes out there to fight Sami Zayn. So Sami Zayn and Big E get into a fight. Cesaro somehow gets into the middle of this. Cesaro and Big E starts getting into a fight. And then Daniel Bryan jumps through the ropes onto everybody who is interrupting this match. Then they all get into a fight. And then Nakamura comes out. And Nakamura has a short standoff with Cesaro. And it look like they might want to stay away from each other. And then it kind of goes to commercial. And when it comes back, of course, it's an impromptu 6-man tag. Impromptu. Just book the fucking match you want to have. So then it's Daniel Bryan, Big E, and Shinsuke Nakamura versus Cesaro, AJ Styles, and Sami Zayn. And once you've had this standoff between Nakamura and Cesaro, they look like they didn't want to fight each other. Who is in the ring right when you come from a commercial? Cesaro and Nakamura fighting each other. So they didn't even save the whole shit until the end or something like that. Build some tension. They just fighting already. So whatever. Of course, it was impromptu because everything is impromptu. Who knows how long this match went on before The Miz and John Morrison showed up for no fucking reason. And now it's a disqualification because John Morrison and The Miz beat up Big E. And then Otis comes to the ring because The Miz is there and he's still feuding with The Miz. That makes sense. Even though it really should have been Miz and Otis or something like that on this show. Because Otis does owe Miz an ass whooping for taking his Money in the Bank. That would have put some thought and they could have broke up this schmaz. This fucking 40-minute fucking schmaz they put together. So Otis comes out. He's beating up Morrison and The Miz. And then we go to commercial and we come back and there's a 9-man tag match. 9 men. Big E, Otis, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro, AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, John Morrison, and The Miz. There's 5 people on one side, 4 on the other. Then they have a match, and then out of nowhere, here comes Sheamus. And Sheamus comes to join the babyface team. So, you have 4 people from Raw crash this show. All 4 of them are in this main event. Instead of doing something unique with this opportunity of bringing these guys to this show, you throw them all into one fucking match. And then had Sheamus win the fucking match. And then that wasn't it. That wasn't it. Because after Sheamus wins, everybody fights again. It's more chaos. And then Another motherfucker from Raw shows up because Braun Strowman comes running into the ring and he beats up everybody. And that's how we go off the air. Where Braun Strowman having thrown Cesaro all over the earth. Like, what the fuck is going on here? I get that you want to say, well, it's the Royal Rumble. It's chaos. It's the Royal Rumble. We gotta... It's like, but no. Build your fucking show. If you wanted to have a 10-man tag, just book the fucking 10-man tag. There is no such thing as impromptu. Like, nothing ever happens in these impromptu matches that makes them worth doing. Like, if you're going to do something impromptu, it should be a title match. You know, like, the babyface tricks the heel into putting the title on the line right then and right there and something like that. But these impromptu 10-man tag matches, why should anybody give a fuck? Why should I get invested? Why did you put 15 minutes into the first fucking promo just to turn the last 40 minutes, which featured the fucking match everybody wanted to see, that if you waited almost 2 hours to see that match, you didn't even get the fucking match? It's ridiculous. It's false advertising. It's dumb as fuck. And who got over? Strowman got over. Everybody else looks like a fucking idiot. Daniel Bryan wrestled in 3 different matches. AJ Styles wrestled in 3 different matches. You know, Nakamura wrestled in 2 different matches. Cesaro wrestled in 2 different matches. Everybody looked like a fucking idiot. It made no sense. It made no sense. If you just wanted to have a 10-man tag, just say, we're going to have a Royal Rumble preview 10-man tag. And just do that. But we have to have impromptu matches. Because we're trying to be, you know, it's like, oh, God. It's crazy because I've been watching a lot of ECW now. But ECW used to do that a lot. You know? Like, you watch some old ECW pay-per-views, you always see Joey Styles. He's the most frustrated man because he's doing commentary by himself. He was always saying, what are the Dudley Boys doing here? They're not on the format. Why do we have formats in ECW? There's guys, they just do whatever they want. And it's like, that's basically what WWE has turned into. Guys just do whatever they want. There's no fucking format to these shows. A guy can come running out of the back and join a match that he was never in and win the match that he was never supposed to be in. And he's not even on a brand that he's not even supposed to be on. What the fuck? He's not even supposed to be there. How could he win? So this is stupid. That's what I mean about it's like a snowball, right? It start out with one stupid lazy thing and it becomes this huge lazy fucking bullshit thing. You false advertise Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, which is a match everybody wanted. You could at least have the match end in disqualification and started a new fucking match, which featured Big E and Sami Zayn, or Big E and somebody else versus Sami Zayn and Cesaro. You know, had a tag match that spin out of that. And then maybe you have, you know, Miz and Morrison come in and they beat up Big E. That's a disqualification. That's still 2 or 3 disqualifications in a row, which is still bullshit. But it's a lot better than what the fuck they did. Because at least those would have been different matches with different people in them. And it wouldn't have turned, it would have felt like these things are linked together throughout the rest of the show. Because you would have saw Big E, Miz, and Morrison getting into it earlier in the show. Nakamura and Sami Zayn getting into it earlier in the show. You know, then you could have known that Otis and The Miz have a history. So the first chance he can get to Otis can get to The Miz, that would have made sense. But in this shit, it was just chaos for no reason. It was just chaos for like no reason. And then Almost didn't even come out there. AJ Styles sent him to the back. He didn't come back. So like AJ is out there fighting everybody. Braun Strowman is out there now. Like it was stupid. It was stupid. But this is one episode of SmackDown. Okay, it's just one. This is the worst SmackDown in a while. And there's still good nuggets here. Because SmackDown is still mostly good. But this show was super frustrating. Super frustrating because all the disqualifications, all the run-ins. And it seems so uncreative. And then also it's the same shit they've been doing on Raw. It's the same shit they've been doing on Raw. Oh, things have broken down. Now we have to have a tag team match. Oh, then that tag team match broke down and we got to have a 6-man tag. Like, oh, fuck. Come on. That's just lazy. That's just fucking lazy. And then the other 2 matches on the show were rematches. So, really, what did we accomplish on this episode except for, oh, well, we just had to have another match before the Royal Rumble. So, there's your match. There's your show. You could have, if you're going to do something with this show, could have made it meaningful. You should have just had Tamina versus Natalya on this show, or just had Tamina versus somebody else and had her win the number 30, maybe from Ruby Riott or somebody. And then maybe had, the winner has to be number 1, loser has to be number 30, or something like that. But now they're going to book backstage and spoil who number 1 and number 2 are going to be, or who the number 1 entrants are, or something like that. I was like, come on. That's part of the whole thing of this shit being fun, is not knowing who's coming in. Now you're telling me who's coming in and what number they're coming in. Now you're just going to steal the fucking joy out of this shit. And I guarantee you I'm not going to be able to avoid the fucking spoilers either. Because I would love to not know. But I guarantee you I'm going to find out. There's just no way around it. This is stupid. It's dumb. All right. I'm done with this shit. Let me know what you guys thought about the SmackDown in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Use the hashtag 3Count Commentaries to support 3Count Commentaries everywhere you go. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.